Hello and welcome to what I talk about when I talk about art. Well, the first bit's only tangentially related to art, but I get to my point in the end. What name to choose? My friends had just convinced me to install the game Roblox onto my Xbox. Apparently the combination of a young target audience and user-created content made for some serious, so bad it's good gameplay, and we were all sitting down for the evening to laugh at its expense. Before we started though, we all had to pick a username. We all knew the metagame here. Without saying a word, we all knew every single one of our usernames would be either an in-joke that only we would understand, or the most childishly inappropriate phrase you could smuggle past the profanity filter using numbers, punctuation, and obscure slang. This was stronger than a tradition, it was second nature. Whenever a multiplayer game asked us to name a character, place, species, anything, the opportunity for humour was rarely passed up. In that moment, our name was decided by what we wanted to do. Our purpose was our identity. We came to have fun with our friends, and our name was a joke for our friends. And the icing on the upraised middle finger was that everyone else in the multiplayer game could see it. We were a confusing joke, and we laughed at ourselves. Of course, in other aspects of our lives, we are more than a joke. So our names we use are more than jokes. A name is who we are and how we are perceived. Other people think of us as our name and use it often. Parents who want a socially accepted child will give that child a socially acceptable name. Then if that person tells their name to other people, those people need to make use of that name to be understood. Naming has something of a small but undeniable difference in what people think and say. To name something is a continuous signpost of your legacy, and a repeated reminder of a decision you made. Therein lies the power, responsibility, and satisfaction of naming something. At university, we had an assessment where we had to analyze a piece of music. We were supposed to have no preconceptions about the piece, using only the music to guide our thought. But because we were given the choice of 5 different pieces to write about, there was a necessity we couldn't ignore: the name. We had to call it something. If we want to approach a piece of art from an objective position, among all the factors we need to try and ignore, other people's opinions, our opinions of the artists, the medium it's presented in, how we feel on that day, the most utilitarian factor has to be its name. The piece I analysed was called Blues, but it was obviously not a typical blues, so I could tell from the name it was making a statement about the nature of blues music. We expect congruency. It's the essence of nominative determinism. If the artist wants to give their piece a boring name with no character, they run the risk of other people making up and using a better name. This is what I call the list risk. I'm sorry, Franz, but Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 is just not as useful a name as the piano bit from that Tom and Jerry episode. But I suppose that's the beauty of the name. The artist's decision and their place in time, where you are at your place in time, your culture, the way language changes, the identity the name can take on. It's all part of the journey an identity goes through. It's the perfect metaphor for our dynamic, chaotic world. Deciding on a name is just one moment, and then it's out of your hands. You can put it out into the world, and the world will do as it wishes. Anyone can make a statement, and none of us will know how or if it will be heard, but it should be enough to know that it began with us.